Yes, darling. This car doesn't belong to you. It belongs to your mother. You can only borrow it once a week. And I don't like going by bus or tube just because my boyfriend hasn't got a car. You didn't even take a taxi after the theatre last night. I wanted to go to bed early after that horrible play, and I had to walk for hours.
The play wasn't as bad as all that.
Really terrible. It was the worst play I've ever seen. It was even worse than the play we saw last month.
Which one do you mean?
The one we saw at the Apollo Theatre. Don't you remember? It was about an old man who worked in a car factory, and he bought some furniture on hire purchase, and he had to borrow a lot of money. We saw it on the first night.
Now I remember. The old man had a sister whose boyfriend fell in the river in the second act. That was really a bad play, with the fat actor whose voice was so funny. But the play we saw last night was much better. Anyway, you wanted to see it because Audrey Hepburn was in it.
Yes, I wanted to see Audrey. She's the best actress I've ever seen, and I know her. I've served her a lot of times. I've seen her in a number of films, and now I wanted to see her on the stage. But she only played a small part, and wasn't at her best at all. The play was terrible. I lost my scarf in the theatre, and you didn't take me home by taxi because that mother of yours never gives you enough money. Altogether, it was the worst night I've ever had. So please don't buy theatre tickets for me anymore.
But darling...
And don't call me darling.
Voices behind the door. When Joe drew the curtain of the study and looked out, the first thing he saw was Mrs. Lee's Jaguar. He drew the curtains back quickly and switched off the walkie-talkie, though he could still hear Henry's voice over it. First, he wanted to run out of the room, but then he changed his mind. Near the wall, there was a big cupboard. He stood between it and the wall. Then he caught sight of the walkie-talkie. It was on the desk. So he had to run to get it and take it with him behind the cupboard. Then he listened to the voices that came from the hall. That's Dick with a girl I don't know, he thought. They were talking and coming closer and closer. The closer they came, the more worried Joe got. What'll happen if they try the door of the study and find it open? If they find me here, Henry's going to be very angry. Now they were quite close to the door. They were talking about something he couldn't understand. Then he heard Dick say, "The curtain." They've noticed me, Joe thought. They saw me draw the curtains. They'll come in a minute. All right then, what are you waiting for? Come in. The sooner the better. His face went white. Then he listened again, and the words that came through the door were less horrible. He heard, "Some refreshments. An excellent actor. Fine setting." And then, after the interval, "In the next scene." Thank heaven, they're talking about the theatre and plays. The quarrel. After a few minutes, Joe heard the voices from right behind the door.
What about your parents? Where are they? I haven't seen anybody.
Look, Gwen, they're not at home.
What?
I'm afraid...
They're not at home? You promised to introduce them to me, didn't you? And I believed you. You talk about marrying me, and I haven't even seen your parents yet. Oh, no, I won't stay here for a moment. Take me home right away.
Gwen, don't be angry. I'm going to give you a present, a valuable ring. I'm going to...
You're going to do this, you're going to do that. That's enough. And you had the cheek to ask me to come here. No, don't take me home in your mother's car. I'm going by bus.
Gwen, wait! Wait for me!
Joe listened carefully, but he couldn't hear another thing. He waited for a few minutes, then looked out of the window and saw a girl run to the gate. He took his walkie-talkie ran out of the study, locked the door, put the key back in the small tin box, put the box back on top of the cupboard, and ran into his room. He sat on his bed and didn't do anything. He didn't switch on the walkie-talkie. He didn't want to talk to Henry.